whatever.
Whatever. All right. Next thing we're going to cover is a couple of common faults in the air squat. This is going to help to reinforce some of the foundational principles of the movement. Okay? So first things first, we're going to talk about lack of midline stability. So the big way you'll see this, turn sideways, people will typically start out in overextension. All right? So he's overextended, and what it looks like at the bottom is that classic butt wink. So you go to the bottom of that butt wink, and you can see his pelvis tucks in at the bottom. All right? As opposed to a good movement, where everything's nice and rigid, he stays in a perfectly straight line all the way to the bottom. No butt. All right? So how you fix that, have people squeeze their butt harder, turn their abs on more, and maintain that tension and that torque on the ground the whole way down. That torque is what helps to stabilize the pelvis, and therefore thereby stabilizing the midline. All right, the second fault we want to talk about is called the valgus fault, or the knees in fault. So we're always reinforcing that knees out position. That's a really stable and safe knee position. It's also good for our low back stability like we just talked about. So what you'll see at the bottom of this squat is his knees will drift in. All right, this is exposing us to a little bit more risk than we like to see in movement, and this is how ACL tears happen. Okay? One way that you might not see this that's a little more subtle is if you watch their feet, that first bone in the foot, the navicular bone, will drop, and he'll lose the arch of his foot. Right? So it's not quite as obvious at the knee, but if you watch his feet, you can see his weight shift to the inside. Okay? You want to maintain torque on the ground. This goes right back to big torque at the butt. He's pushing his knees out as hard as he can throughout the movement. All right, the third fault that we see a lot of time is a tissue load order fault. So it's going to be a knee initiation fault. What that means is instead of starting the movement by sending his hips back and down, he's going to start by bending his knees first. All right? What this will look like in practice is you'll see sort of that pelvic gimbal. People won't have good stability at the pelvis, all right? So they're looking for tension on the way down. This usually ends up, this is the kind of squat that looks like a train wreck, all right? So the big way you get people to fix this is have them lock knees out at the top and reinforce that butt back and down, all right? Good. The other thing we want to cover real quick is just about where he's going to distribute the weight in his feet. So ideally, the weight is towards the back half of his foot, somewhere between midfoot and in the heel, as opposed to up in his toes. Can you show me a toe squat? Usually follows from a knee-initiated squat. So you see people's heels coming up off the ground for them to get to full range of motion. Have them start over, sending their butt back and down, keeping their weight way back in the heels. And that's it for the faults. Hopefully that reinforces some of those key principles to this movement. I think that's it for air squats.
Happy squatting.